God wants you to stop worrying. Stop worrying about the debt. Stop worrying about your bills. Stop worrying about your transportation. Stop worrying.
This video is for you if you're tired of living from paycheck to paycheck. Learn to trust God's provision and you will experience financial peace like never before. In today's video, or in this video, we're going to be listening to some encouraging, some inspiring testimonies from these amazing content creators. Before we go into the video, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel to encourage me to do more, please. And also, if you have experienced God's blessings or God's provision in any way in your life or any aspect of your life, God's powerful provision in any aspect of your life, please share your testimony in the comment section. And also, if you have any prayer points, you can drop in the comment section. Also, if you have any encouraging tips to help people or any Bible verse that can help to encourage people to keep on going, keep on trusting God, you can share that also in the comment section.
I want to share a story with you guys that I personally experienced that showed me that God will provide everything and anything you need. There was this one day that I caught myself going to the laundromat doing laundry, right? There was this homeless lady that walked in the laundromat and was asking everybody if they knew if the laundromat had water fountains for her dogs because they were really thirsty. And everyone gave her this like mean look besides me, right? So me overhearing saying that her dogs need water, I stepped in and said, "Hi, excuse me, like, do your dogs need water?" She looked at me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like, yes, please, like, they're really thirsty." So I told her, come with me, my clothes are just in the dryer, we can go to Walgreens. So I walked in Walgreens, I bought her a giant jug of water, and then I bought her like a personal little water bottle, right? Came out of Walgreens, she thanked me so much, she was so happy, and I was just, talking to her, chopping it up. And then when I proceeded to leave, I was going back to the laundromat because remember, I had clothes in the dryer. And on the way walking back to the laundromat, I literally said in my head, wow, I just gave this lady my last $3 to my name, but it's okay because I know God's going to provide it, right? So remember that. So after doing laundry, I went back home and then I decided I wanted to go to McDonald's. I walk in McDonald's, I'm on the phone with a friend and we're just talking, long time no see type of conversation, right? And this lady that I previously knew, which I thought she was a human form angel, which is another story for next time. But I ended up seeing her and she looked at me, she was like, "Oh my gosh, like it's really good to see you. How have you been?" And we're just talking, catching up a little bit since the last time we've seen each other. And she asked me like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I kind of explained to her, I'm kind of struggling, but it's like, it's okay. Like, I'm trying to make, like, anything best that I can do in my situation. Like, I'm trying to get through it as best as I can. She looks at me, she's just like, you're going to be okay. Just keep praying. Just talk to God. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about anything. So after all that talking, then she finally was like, "Okay, well, it was really good seeing you, So she proceeded to leave. And my friend on the phone was kind of like, "Who is that lady?" And I was telling her, like, "Oh my gosh, like, there's this lady that I met and I felt like she was a human from angel." And I'm kind of explaining her the story of how I met the lady, right? In the middle of my conversation, the lady walks back in McDonald's and I kid you not, she picks up my phone while I'm on FaceTime with my friend, lifts up my phone, puts $20 in there, leaves and says, "I love you," and walks out. And I just had this shocked look on my face because I was like, oh my gosh, like I just got through saying, wow, I just gave my last $3 to this homeless lady, but it's okay because God's going to provide. And she magically, the other lady, gives me $20. And don't get me wrong, I was very grateful and happy for the $20, but I was more in shock and so happy the fact that I knew God heard and knew my worries and still provided. And I didn't even worry when I gave that lady my last $3 because I knew he was going to give it back to me. With that being said, as you see, I'm a living proof and experience that God will provide all. So I want you guys to stop worrying about everything that is happening in your life and give it over to God. And I promise you guys, he will provide it. You just have to trust in him and his timing once again.
What's the weirdest thing that ever happened to you that made you think that God was real?
Up until this day, when I think about this whole experience, I am in awe. Okay, so this happened in 2022 when I was preparing to go to Italy for a summer abroad program. And if you've ever been for like a summer abroad program, you know that those courses in the program are usually more expensive than the regular school year courses. So it requires from you a lot and everything. So during the time we were preparing for this summer abroad thing, and why am I stuttering? Okay, I need to calm down. I'm actually also sweating because thinking about it, I'm just like, oh wow, God, thank you so much. But yeah, when I say we, I mean me, myself. Guys, give me a moment to get myself together. Okay, so by we, I mean myself and my parents, okay? So we had already paid like a deposit fee, and then we also had to pay for my flights, also had to pay for my accommodation, and other things that came with the program because we had some different excursions that we would have to go to. So all that was already paid for. But take note that as we were doing all these things, I had not even gotten my visa, which is the most important thing because it's the visas I need to get into Italy, you know? And then I knew that at that time, the Schengen offices, they did not have space till September, and I was supposed to leave for Italy in July. I was like, oh my god, that really got me worked up. I was like, you know what? In fact, I worried. Let me be honest. Like, I worried so bad. Like, if not for my friends that just held me down. Oh god, I don't even know what would have happened to me at that time. But then we're able to tell the school like, okay, when I checked the Schengen office for like an appointment, I didn't see any slots and everything. So the school gave me a letter to send to them, and they gave me a date. And once they gave me that date, I was so thankful because it was quite early enough for me to be able to give them my passports and all of that things, and also because I was taking out of church 2022 and I didn't want that to get disrupted, so like everything worked out perfectly. So fast forward to the day before we had like a Maverick City concert, and then I remember like just before I went, I was just praying to God. I was just telling God how I feel like so much of a burden to like my parents because I feel like they're spending so much money on this thing, but like I also know like this is something that I really want to experience, that and I know that I have my appointment tomorrow and they require like some money again to pay for like the visa and everything. Like I just want God to just like hold me, like be with me. I just needed God's presence, like especially in that moment, just because like I just felt, you know, like when you feel like a burden. I don't know if anybody has ever felt this way, but like you just feel like you're requesting too much of someone, like even though like they're your parents or anything, but like I just felt like like this thing is much. Like I was happy, but I was also like I was happy like they were doing it for me rather, but I was also like, oh wow, like this is actually a lot because it was a lot. Okay, so fast forward to the next day. My appointment was like around 9 a.m. So when you get there, you're not even into the building immediately. You're standing at the gates. So standing at the gate, I think there's a bell you ring or something like that. And then the security comes to the front and then he asks you if you have all the documents that they're going to ask you for when you get in there. So I presented everything that was needed of me, as well as the cash, because you pay in cash for the visa. And then I showed him everything, and he now walked me to the door of the building. And getting to the door of the building, they ask you the same questions again. So everything I had presented it, and then you go through a security check, and yeah, that's what happened. So even after doing all that, I had to still wait for a little while, just because I don't know, I think they said somebody also had my time slot, so they were dealing with that person first. I was like, okay, no problem. So I sat down, I just was going through my phone. Did I say phone? I was just going through my phone and just also going through like the concert videos and pictures I took yesterday, and also as well like trying to post on my stories. So I got called in eventually, and then as I got into like the guy that was gonna help me out with like my visa and stuff, like he was so mean, guys. Like when he looked at me, like he squared me, like he eyed me from up down, and I was just like, oh my god, like what is going on? Anyways, I just kept on doing whatever he told me to do. So I was just doing that. And there's a point, instead of backing, I was not even like, he was like, give me that. I was just like, guy, calm down now. But anyways, because of how I was already feeling, because of how the guy was acting, I was a little bit anxious. And I just was saying a prayer under my breath and everything. And then I remember even before I stepped into that guy's office, they had asked me, do you have the money for your visa? And I was like, yeah, I showed them. And then that's how they allowed me to move forward. And then when the guy now did everything like he was going to, like, supposed to do with like my visa and everything, he just looked up at me randomly, and then this guy just smiled, and I was like, and I was the only one in the room, so I was like, why is he smiling? Like I was freaked out, and then he's like, you don't need to pay for your visa. I said, sorry, because even at the wall beside me there was a poster of how much you need to pay for the visa and like the prices and everything, if you're a child, if you're an adult, all those kind of things. So I was just like, sorry. I was like, you don't need to pay for your visa. But I was like, oh, I have my money. He was like, you don't need to pay for your visa. And I was just like, is this man illegal? Like I could not comprehend. Do you understand? And then he was like, you don't need to pay for your visa. And then he just hands me over my receipt, and I see there on the receipt $0, and he's like, I'm going to give you your passport in the next. I'm going to ship out your passport to you in the next 2 days. So being that I'll get my passport in the next 2 days, and usually this process takes like about 15 days and things like that. So I walked out of the office, like I was just still a little bit confused, and I was just really confused, and I was just like, oh my God. And as I was walking out of the office, let me not miss this important part. As I was walking out of the office, the guy now said something by, and then he just smiled. In fact, he even winked. I was like, this man that was being rude to me in the beginning is talking like this and acting like this now. And I was just like, wow, 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 wow. Even like as I was walking out, my body was just shaking because it's like I had the money in my hand, but I just feel like that was God reminding me that I am not a burden and he's providing for me throughout this whole trip. He's the provider, that I should just keep on trusting him because it was really a lot to get there. And sometimes when I think about that story, I'm like, there's no way I went to Italy without paying for a visa. And I remember because I couldn't believe what had happened. I took a picture of the receipts just so when I go through things in life, I can always remind myself that God is with me. He has done this before and he can do more moving forward. So I'm going to put a picture of the receipts there just for anyone who is trusting in God for like anything like immigration or just trusting God as your provider and things like that. I want you to know that your future is in the hands of God. It says it in the book of, I think it's Psalms 31 verse 15. Your future is in the hands of God. So your future is not in the hands of any immigration officer. It is not in the hands of any institution. It is in the hands of God, and it is he that has the final say. Okay, so there is nothing anyone can tell you if God has not commanded it first. So I just hope this testimony has blessed someone, has stirred up your faith if you're trusting in God for anything of this sort, and know that God is a God that provides. Have a good day. I hope this story was easy to easy to assimilate, because I feel like I was also all over the place, but hope this blessed someone.
I have a testimony to share with you guys, so I'm going to share it while I eat the breakfast of champions. If you know about common porridge, yeah, let me know. I was praying to God about being in the current predicament that I'm in, just basically being unemployed whilst trying to build my small business. I have a Christian streetwear clothing brand called Alternative Vessels, and I was praying to God about releasing the next collection. And I was looking at my business account, I said, God, like, there's literally £20 in that account. I can't release a next collection with £20. I basically asked God to provide, and I was just like, and then I worked out the maths, and I was like, okay, God, how much do I need? And the minimum I needed between £100 and £150, right, just to get materials that I needed, be able to photograph them and basically put it on the website. So I prayed and I left it at God. I was just like, I'm getting delusional at this point. So I'm just like, if I ask God for something, yeah, he's gonna give it to me. I pray and I start thinking of ways, so God is like, what do you have? And I'm literally like, bro, you know what I have, but he's asking me if I know what I have, right? And so he's like, okay, figure out a way to flip this £20. I'm like, God, you'd have to give me the idea, because anything I come up with is just not going to be anything close to what you're thinking. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I start thinking of ways. I'm about to do a cake bake sale. I'm about to sell paintings. I'm about to make patty and sell them. Like, I'm thinking I'm even going to sell my clothes, right? I start like putting my faith and my works together. Do you know what I'm saying? Considering I want this to be a spring summer collection, I'm like, God, it's gonna have to be real soon because production time, yeah? After asking everyone, something prompted me to ask my mom, yeah? Obviously, it's the Holy Spirit. These times I prayed last week, and for the whole week I was figuring out how I'm gonna flip this £20 into 100, yeah? So I go to my mom, I was like, Mom, if you had £20, how would you flip it? She gave me a suggestion, and she was like, why? What do you need it for? And I was like, okay, I wanna release the next collection. I need to make the £20, £100. And she was like, oh, if it's for your business, then yeah, God told me about that last week. I've set aside money for you. From last week, so these times, praying to God, like no one knows about this prayer. And he's already talking to my mom. She's made calculations that I am none the wiser about getting ready to put this seed into my business, right? When I tell you guys the amount, yeah, there's £21.90 in my business account. My mum then comes and she says, here's £212. If I was to tithe the £212, it'll be £21. God gave me a tenfold the minute I prayed. What God can do with your little doesn't even... I need you guys to understand something. I had prayed and considered tithing this amount. I was just literally going to just sow it. In my heart posture of being willing to sow it, I'm like, God, you can do more with this than I ever can. He was already working it out. I now have twice the amount to release this collection with wriggle room And I believe this is like a prompt reminder for me to also don't give up on tithing. No matter what little amount you have, keep tithing. I just want to give glory to God because I really started to sweat. I was like, God, you've given me this vision, you've given me this business, and I can't steward it in a way I would like or grow it because the provision is not there. And he was like, I will send it to you. And I'm now sitting here. I even need to get on that today because I need to think of like the models and dipping my toe into creative direction a little bit because I don't necessarily want to be behind the camera for this one. I feel like God is walking me through that process as well. Yeah, I just wanted to share the goodness of God, and when God said he's going to provide, he meant it. He just needs your faith to activate the provision. This is a milestone for me and a reminder to keep going. Whatever vision God has given you, you're thinking, how am I going to make this happen? Counsel with God. Show up to your meeting with God. He's going to show you and tell you how he's going to make it happen. Keep trusting God, guys.
Y'all, so I was just compelled to share this testimony. And when I share this testimony, it's not to boast, it's not to brag, it's not to do anything for attention. It's all to help someone that this is for, that's just in need of a faith booster, someone that's just in need of support in this moment, someone that need a reminder that God is always going to provide, y'all. He will always provide. And I'm going to share with y'all my testimony just because I know it's going to help somebody. I just know it. And so, y'all, one day I was in need of food. I didn't have no gas in my tank. Well, I had a little bit of gas just to get me from going to my mom's house back home. And so in this particular day, y'all, I was stressed out. I was crying. I was praying. I was worshiping. And I got up and I went to my mom's house, visited him for a little while, laughing. Immediately right after I left, I was in a car. But before I left, I asked my sister, did she have a couple dollars, just so that way I was able to get something to eat. Because I didn't have, anything to eat, right? And I was like, it's okay. She didn't have it at all. And neither did anyone else in my family had it, right? So I instantly got into my car, and when I drove off, I was on my way home, and I just broke down. Like, I broke down in tears, and I was just crying, and I said, God, I don't need anything or anyone at this moment but you. I need your comfort. I need your support. I need your direction. And I was just, y'all, I was just so, I was crying so heavy. And now this is how you know God was protecting me this whole time, because I'm driving while crying, and I have just tears coming down. And y'all, I'm trying to focus, but my tears are literally there because I could not hold it back. I just knew that I just need comfort because I was in a need, right? So as I'm driving home, I end up seeing a woman of God that I always used to just join her lives and listen to her word and sow into her ministry. Whenever, I felt called to, whenever I could, just because her ministry is always just blessed people, blessed me, just in general. So I joined the live, and when she started speaking, it was a young girl on her live, and that needed some support with a particular issue. Of course, I don't want to go into that issue because I just don't want to disclose people information. But I joined the live and was able to help and speak to the young girl. In the midst of me joining that live, the woman of God instantly stopped and looked at me, right? And told her ministry. It was a lot of things that happened on that live. Told her ministry to sow into me. And y'all, now mind you, I'm driving down the road. I'm just joining live like I normally do. And I'm not thinking anything of it. I pulled over to the side of near this parking lot because I didn't want to get distracted, because something was just saying, just join the live, right? And just to literally listen. And then who was to know that I was going to get on that live, help a young girl, and then they helped me. And so after she said bless, y'all, I came from literally not having anything in my account, I cannot make this up, to almost being blessed with close to $1,000 in that moment. Y'all, this was like probably 5-10 minutes after I was just telling God that I need him, after I was already thanking him for what he has done. Just, give me that strength, give me that comfort to keep going. And when I tell you, not only was I able to fill my tank up, get food, my family ended up getting blessed a whole nother way, y'all. Now, mind you, I just told you that they didn't have it when I asked, but they ended up getting blessed. So not only did God provide for me, he was able to provide for my family as well, y'all. And y'all, I say this to say, don't mind it, y'all. It's just a sensitive topic if you see me getting a little bit sensitive. But I say this to say that if you're in need of a faith booster, if you're in need of motivation, if you feel like God don't hear you, you need someone to provide. Y'all, he is there. And it wasn't about the fact that they blessed me with money. It was about the fact that when I called on him, he provided. When I let go and I surrendered, he provided, y'all. And when I tell you this is a testimony that is going to help somebody that is in need, because it blessed me so much when I understood that concept. I wasn't going on the live looking for no handout. I wasn't going to go ask anybody for anything. I simply just wanted to hear the voice of God. I simply just wanted to join and support, not knowing that this same woman of God that I had been sowing into, ministry I had been blessing when I could, ended up pouring right back into me. Ended up pouring right back into me at the time of need, when I was in need. When God tells you to do something, when he tells you not to worry, when he tells you he is going to provide, y'all, believe him. Believe him. And best believe, if you need to be shown, he is going to show you. He is going to show you. I promise you he will, y'all. When I tell you that changed my whole perception about a lot of things, just knowing that God, for one, was already real. I knew that God was real, but to just get on there, help a young girl with just some emotional support and guidance, for someone to see me, to get on their platform, and they didn't know my story. They didn't know what I was going through. She didn't have no clue. Nobody knew, right? I'm just helping this young girl. Then joined her live, and that woman of God blessed me. When I tell you I cannot make this up, like, hold on. April 19th, y'all, this was a day after my birthday. I was not able to celebrate my birthday. I didn't have any funds. I didn't do anything, but you know what I did? I remained grateful on my birthday. I still kept a smile. I was thankful because what I asked God that year before, he had already blessed me with everything on my birthday. So I didn't care to go on a birthday trip. I didn't care to do anything. Not knowing that the next day I was in need and I was going to get blessed, y'all. God worked in mysterious ways. And let me show you. This was one person that had ended up blessing me. That was another person, y'all. That was another person, y'all. My notification, my Cash App notification was just ringing. And all because I was able to reach out to God and call on him in my time of need. I knew by faith and by confidence he was going to provide, for one, but I also knew to surrender into that moment. So don't get discouraged if you're going through a tough time. Remember that God hears you, he loves you, he sees you, and he is going to provide, y'all. He is going to provide. And I hope that this helps someone. I hope that this blessed someone sincerely and genuinely. I hope that you look at this testimony and to know that if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. He can do it for the next person. He can do it for your family. It doesn't mean financially. It can mean health-wise. It can be anything that you're in need of. He will provide, y'all.
If you are being obedient to something that God is asking you to do, bro, get ready for him to absolutely bless your socks off. I have a testimony that I need to share with you guys, and I've been hesitant on if I want to share it or not, but I just keep thinking about the person who's maybe on the fence about doing something that God's told them to do, or not knowing if they can really fully trust God, and I have to share it. We just wrapped up a series at our church called Awaken, and it was all about just being awakened to the power and the presence and the spirit of God, and a big part of the series was just inviting God into our finances and like aligning our treasure with him. And I was sitting in the second week of this series, and for the first time I heard God tell me to do something very, very specific. And I had a TikTok collaboration coming up where I made a percentage of commission from each unit sold through my link. And God told me, he said, I want you to give everything that you make from this product back to the church and back to me. And I was like, oh God, you know, I'm a college student, like I'm saving up for a car, like maybe like half. And he just kept consistently telling me, he was like, give it all. Like, do you trust me on this? Like, will you trust me with all of it? And I was like, fine, you can have it all. I posted the videos, and they are my 2 highest performing videos on my page. I have made an insurmountable amount more than I could have ever even imagined having. It's insane how much money. I told my pastor about this like 2 weeks ago. I went up to him and I was like, just told him the story, and I was like, and I want to be faithful to my commitment with God, and I want to give it all back to the church. And he said, that is amazing. Like, do you care if I share this with the church? And I was like, no, absolutely not. And then he told me, he said, Summer, I'm so excited to see what God does. This is not the end of the story. I'm so excited to see how God shows up for you. So the next Sunday, last Sunday, he shared the story with the church, and the following Monday, so this past Monday, I got a call in the morning. I was just walking back from class from the church, and it said, Summer, someone heard your story and they want to buy you a car. Guys, so I'm making this video right now, sitting in God's faithfulness, quite literally. If God asks you to do something, he will provide a way, and get ready for him to just absolutely bless your socks off. He will be faithful. Giving in the Bible is the one thing that God says, test me on this and trust me with this to take care of you and to provide for you. One of the things that my pastor said in this series was, God, the answer is yes. Now what's the question? And if we could all just have that mindset, how crazy God is working, and he wants to work in your life. He wants to give you an opportunity where you have to trust him and you have to rely on him to provide, because he wants to show you his faithfulness. He wants to provide for you and he wants to bless you. So this is one of the craziest things that has ever happened in my life, but God's faithfulness and goodness and glory and power has just been so evident. I just had to share that with you guys.
Remember God's pattern and have big faith. Stand on that faith. And let me tell you a testimony about mine. Every year, I'm in school still, and we have to get funding. My tuition is $40,000 a year. Now, yes, I'm going to be a doctor, but it's $40,000 a year. I've been in school now 5 years. Probably got a year more to go. So you do the math. It's stressful. God has been a provider every single time. But every time this time of year comes around, I start stressing. One of the sources of funding that I applied for got denied, and I was disappointed, y'all. Disappointed. And the enemy wanted me so much to throw a tantrum like I usually do. Like this time last year, I threw a tantrum when I didn't get funding. But I said, no, God has already went before me. I've already prayed over it. And I've also declared that I am a conqueror. I am favored. I am a money magnet, not on my own strength, but by the strength of the Lord. And I looked at his pattern. He always provides me funding. He always sends money opportunities to me. Again, that's personal to me. And he always allows me to make connections with people who are stakeholders in a lot of decisions in my life, whether that's school, externship, whatever. And so I stood on the promise of the Lord that God will provide, even if I didn't get funding, even if I had to take out loans. I know that one day God would clear those loans out. That's how much faith I had. And I stood on that faith. And today I got an email that I got funding and a stipend. Now, then, funny enough, today was also the last day of my externship, and I got offered an extension, but a paid extension. And so this is a reminder to stand on business and look at the pattern of God. Have faith in God, because he will not come through for you. But you got to have faith. Faith releases the kingdom of God. We have to have real faith. Trust in the Lord. He's testing you. Not to shake you up, but to see, can he trust you with more? Can he trust you with hard circumstances? Can he trust you for the work that he has to do? Because in the work that we have to do, we got to have faith, okay? Examine God's pattern and have big faith.
Let me tell y'all how good God is. If you have been struggling financially to pay your rent, your paycheck to paycheck, do not click off this video, because I have to tell you this testimony. So earlier this year, God placed it on my heart to move out of these old apartments. I was there for 6 years and it was super affordable, y'all, but it was completely dangerous. But by the grace of God, I am now living in these brand new luxury apartments, right? So the rent is going to be more than double than what I'm used to paying. So now in my head, I'm like, okay, Lord, since you made a way for me to live here, then surely you're going to provide some sort of financial increase for your girl. You know what I'm saying? Like a brand new job or a raise at my job, like anything. So I was applying to so many jobs, guys, and I had a lot of interviews and they went really well, but then I didn't hear back from anybody. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to get a new job. Maybe I can get a raise at the job I'm currently at. And so I asked them for a raise and they said no. And I'm like, God, like what is going on? I don't understand. And side note, I already took a pay cut from this job because I wanted to stop working weekends. That way I can dedicate more time to the Lord by observing Sabbath and going to church. And you know, I'm at my lowest right now financially. So anyway, I go back to God in prayer. I say, Lord, I am genuinely confused because you placed me in this apartment, the most expensive place I've ever lived. Yet when it comes to income, I'm at my lowest I've ever been. And the Lord helped me realize that the financial blessing I've been longing for is not going to show up how I expected it to. Does that make sense? I'm learning that a brand new job that makes a whole lot of money is not the answer to my financial relief. And instead it's relying on God. You know, the brand new shiny job and the raise, those are resources, but God is the source. So it's like this whole time God has been pruning me, like pushing me to have more faith in him, trusting in him that he will provide and to rely solely on him and his provision. And guys, he's also been teaching me how to be a faithful steward. So I'm over here asking God for more this, more that, but it's like, Violetta, I want to see how you can faithfully steward what I've already blessed you with. Haven't I not given you enough already? So it led me to the scripture where Jesus says, he who is very faithful in little is also very faithful in much. And whoever is unrighteous in little is also unrighteous in much. So in that, I learned to be content with what I already have. And I learned to honor the Lord with whatever increase I get, whether it's $5 or $500, whether it's $1, because any type of increase comes from the Lord. And that is my chance to show God, to prove to the Lord that I can faithfully steward every blessing that comes my way. So with every paycheck I get, even though it's not as much as I would like, I'm learning to be content. I pray over the finances. I give thanks to God for them. And then I sit down and I budget with him. Like I include God on every single transaction, every single bill. I include the Lord on all of it. I ask God, how can I honor you with this money? Because it's not my money, right? So in doing that, guys, I have cut out all these unnecessary expenses, and the Lord has helped me pay my rent every single month on time. I've been here for 5 months. Okay. No issues. All my bills are paid on time. I'm paying down debt, guys. I'm putting money in my savings account. Like, I am okay. I got food in the fridge. I got clothes on my back. No, I don't have a fancy brand new job. I'm not making 6 figures and none of that. None of that. I am not making as much, but I am still okay. And that is a blessing. Like that is a testimony. We don't need to have these fancy brand new things to make it in life. We are okay with what God has already given us. Jesus even tells us in Matthew 6:33 to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be provided unto you. God will make a way when there is no way. You know, the Lord is our Jehovah Jireh. He is our provider. If you are anxious about your income, your finances, any of those things, include God. When is the last time you prayed to God, not for more and more and more, but on how you can be faithful with what he's already blessed you with?
So that you need to learn gratitude and thankfulness because God is always faithful. Just take a little moment out of your busy time and reflect on the times that God has provided for you in the past. Yes, just take a moment and reflect on things that God has done for you in the past, things that you never thought was possible, things that you never thought could even come true. How God has shown up for you, how he has provided for you even before you ask. Take a moment to reflect on that and you will find out that God is faithful. He is still that God. He has not changed. He will continue to provide for you. God is not tired. He can never be tired to provide for you. He said he will provide for you. He will take care of you. That is promise. And God keeps his promise. He says his words will never come back to him empty. That is the same God. He never changes. So, sweetheart, please relax. I hope this video has encouraged you. So, sweetheart, if you are finding this video helpful in any way, if you are finding it encouraging in any way, please give this video a thumbs up. And please subscribe to the channel. So keep me encouraged also and keep me motivated. God bless you. And Happy New Year in advance. I hope you get all your prayers answered in next year. I hope you fulfill your destiny next year. I hope you get clarity in whatever you want to do next year. I hope the year 2025 that is coming will be a good year for you and all of us and your family. You will remain blessed. And also, do not forget that God got you. Yes, you'll be fine. He will always come true. Trust me, He will always come true. Bye, guys.